Hey guys, AJ with Relentless Racing. Welcome back to the channel. If you follow my channel, you know I rarely share anything personal. Unfortunately, we suffered a very heavy loss. My sister-in-law Laura, who was only 39, lost her battle with cancer. Her loss has really brought perspective to what is really important. So I encourage you to live life to its fullest and cherish every moment. Someone once said, we are blessed to get to do anything. I think those are some words of wisdom. If you're interested in donating to her daughter Abby, who's only 5, please use the GoFundMe link on the screen or the GoFundMe link located in the description. Thank you. On a lighter note, our previous episode focused on T3's full rear suspension catalog, including the rear traction links, the rear toe links, and the rear lower control arms. Today's video features T3's full front suspension catalog, including T3's front sway bar, the GTX2 front lower control arms and TC rods, and the ultimate tie rod package. And just for you guys, I removed the caliper, the rotor, and the hub just so you guys could have a better view. Well, maybe not so much. I was working on that stuff anyway, but no one's gonna know. In any case, enjoy the video. The steering arm. So to get this cotter pin out, you kind of have to squeeze this guy and get these guys squeezed properly and make sure that they're straight. And then you gotta bang this thing out. A lot of times this thing won't come out, and so you really have to straighten this thing out, and sometimes you'll get it out partially out there, and then I'll use an awl and kind of stick it through here and shove it that way, or I'll grab onto it with these guys. Let's get this guy out. Oh, looks like we're gonna have to use one of those methods. There we go. 17 millimeter. And then we're gonna stick this thing back on, but upside down. AJ, what the hell are you doing? You're gonna find out. Now we're gonna put this Honda tool on here, and we just gotta tighten that guy down with a 19 millimeter. Oh, it popped already. Check it out. At least I think it did. It did. So normally that's a lot larger of a pop, but we turn this guy over to distribute load onto the thread so we don't mess up this guy. And then look, it pops right out. On the lower control arm, there is a cotter pin, but it's a different style of a pin. It's a reusable one. So let's take a look at how to remove this guy. All we gotta do is we gotta extend this section out and then pull this section here. And that's it. Okay, 19 millimeter for the lower control arm. Same thing. Sometimes these crown nuts don't like to go in this way, so I always have an extra M12 by 1.25 for just that issue, and I like to use the flange nuts so that way they distribute load a little bit better. So I put this guy on here, and then I put the popper tool on here, just like we did the front steering arm. Get it adjusted. And this thing's already loose, so I'm not so sure if it's gonna pop, but let's find out. There it goes. And look, she's undone. Let's release the end of the sway bar. To the bottom of the end length, it's 12 millimeter. Pops right out, there we go. You could use an Allen key in here if you can't get this thing off. So just put an Allen key in there. I just pulled on it. 17 millimeter. And then this guy over in this corner is 19 millimeter. Look at how long that puppy is. And here's our lower control arm. So the sway bar is also attached to the firewall right here. So 12 millimeter. So I've already disconnected the other side, so you got to be careful here and hang on to it. And this guy, if you thread it through here, it will come right out. But you gotta thread it through properly. Voila! Let's get this steering boot off. Okay, we've got to remove the outer tie rod. So I'm just going to use these adjustable wrenches right here. And this is just a regular right-hand thread. These will be tight, so if you need to put some penetrator on there, go for it. And just zip these things off. Again, this is a right-hand thread. So you got to remove this to get the boot off, the steering boot. Apply Kung Fu grip and just pull this thing off. Sometimes it'll get stuck here, but just keep yanking on it. Even if it flips inside out, you can flip it back the right side out. But that's how it comes off. To get the inner tie rod off, we have to use a special tool by Lyle. The Lyle 46800. And this is what the tool looks like. So all you got to do is stick the adapter, the 29mm adapter right here, like that. And then slip this guy over here. And then we're going to try and make sure we get this guy in here. And there we go. Okay, flip the collar. Okay, now we should be able to get to it. Now we'll just take a 1/2-inch drive to the other end of this guy and pop this guy open. This is the left front of the MR2 Spyder. And if you remember, we just took the sway bar off and the bracket attaches right here. Check that guy out. There's one on the other side as well. And so we're gonna have to snake the sway bar all the way across to the other side. And that little black line right there, that one right there, is above the sway bar. So you're gonna have to tie that thing up so that way it doesn't get in the way. Usually there's a bracket, but I'm using that Stony kit and I don't have that bracket that attaches to the other hose. In any case, let's snake that guy through. So let's grab the bracket and we'll pull the insert out, and you've got to lubricate the crap out of this thing with this grease. And it is sticky, so wear gloves when you put it on. Okay, you guys ready to see some sexy? Check this thing out. Oh, pretty badass. All right, so I'm just gonna push this thing back just a little bit. So I'm just gonna slide that guy on here just like that. Push the plastic or the bubble wrap down a ways. We'll put this guy on right here. And I'm using some brand new hardware that I got. Kind of just tack that guy in. So check out this cool design. They come with a large heim joint on this side, 2 misalignment spacers right here. This is left-hand thread. This is right-hand thread. They also have end links for your sway bar. They have a really cool design right here for the ball joint. It's 2 nuts right there. And then over here, this is the other part of your lower control arm. And again, that comes with a large heim joint on that side with 2 misalignment spacers as well. And these guys connect right here on these guys, and they are adjustable. Same with the end links. And then you get hardware for those guys as well. They go in right through here. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some seal-it seals to this thing and some seal-it seals over to those two over there as well. And then we're gonna put these guys in. And if you notice, I have these things already set up at same length. And I used my Project Silver as a reference because I'm gonna run my suspension similar to what is going on Project Silver, because I really like the way Project Silver handles. And this is a personal preference thing. So if this is your first time doing this, I highly suggest that you put this stuff on and they will not be the same size as OE, because if they were the same size as OE, why would you get these arms? So this is for track specific applications, and you're gonna modify the way your suspension is riding to your preference. So get them on, get to your alignment guy, and get these things adjusted properly. Let's talk about setup real quick. I take the left front shock and I take it to the most negative position right here. Now I'm gonna take the knuckle and I'm gonna rock it the most negative camber I can get, just like that. And then I'm gonna lock these guys in. Okay, swing this guy out of the way. And then we're gonna take our Irwin clamp and we're gonna smush this guy really, really well. Give it a good squeeze. And then it should fit right in here. There she goes. And then we're gonna find our bolt. Let's swing the knuckle around and you can see where we're connecting with the lower control arm. Raise your lower control arm up here. There she goes. Put our nut on here. So the one thing you really need to check right now is if there's enough room down here for your socket. So this is the double nylock. There's a 19 millimeter here and a 24 millimeter right here. So let's just double check the clearance. So here's my 24 millimeter. I'm using a thin wall chrome and it looks like it's going to be able to fit in here. So sometimes if this is at an angle, the socket will get stuck on the edge right here. So you have to maybe disconnect that, readjust it, and then lock this thing down. The torque for this guy, according to T3, is you lock it down, snug, you just snug it and then quarter turn. But since this is a double nylock, I think that you need to snug this guy with a gun, and then this guy you torque to factory spec at 70 foot-pounds. So let me tighten this guy with my gun. Okay, 19 millimeter on the top, 24 on the bottom. She's snug on the bottom. Okay, let's snug with my 19. So the other end of the lower control arm goes over here, and this is it right here. So let's give this a squeeze with the Irwin clamp. Good squeeze. Well, it seems like it's still a little too tall. So let's do a little modification here. We could loosen and lower this plate just a little bit. This is a truss that goes between the steering rack and the chassis over here. So let's loosen it a little bit. Now this plate lowered. So this guy should be able to fit in there just like that. Start that. So that's a 19 millimeter and the other two are 17. So first I'm going to tighten this 19. And then let's tighten these guys. So now I'm going to take the knuckle and I'm going to try and position the knuckle in the center of the wheel well as best I can. And then we're going to bring this guy and we're going to adjust it to here. We also may need to rotate this guy to make sure it's in line or within plane with this guy. So hang on to the end right here and then extend it and get it headed towards the right direction. Okay, and now we're going to drop some hardware through here. So this is a special shoulder bolt that T3 has. We may have to adjust this. There she goes. And then we'll add the nut right here. So you snug this thing and then give it a quarter turn. And it's a Robertson bit on the top, which means that it isn't a hex, but it is a square. So now I'm looking at the knuckle and it looks like it's too far forward. And again, this is a quick adjustment. I don't know what it's going to look like when the wheels drop. So that's really the key. But we'll take care of that during alignment. So I'm just going to get it close. That's my guess right there. So the inner and outer tie rods come with the kit. So check this thing out. And it comes with this guy. Let's open this thing up. It looks like it's a stock replacement. Let's open her up. Looks like it comes with some grease. So you're going to pack some grease into here. and grease that thing up as best you can. And then we're gonna put this guy on, and then we gotta take that guy off, put the boot on, and then put this guy on. I like to put the whole thing in here. Just stuff this guy in there as much as you can. Put the whole bag in there. And that's pretty much the whole thing. I forgot to tell you, it comes with hardware as well. So this is for the outer tie rod, and these are the pieces that go into the knuckle. Pretty cool. Nylock's on here as well, and it's got these misalignment spacers on here so that way it can actually articulate, the heim joint can articulate. So before we get going, let us put this puppy in here. And this is seals it. I showed you this guys in another video. There we go. There she goes. And then this thing's gonna go in on each side. So let's get started on this guy right here using the special tool by Lyle. This is a 1 3/16. This is the one that fits the best. The OE one was 29 millimeters, but this one is 1 3/16 inch. So let's pull this guy out. Here's our inner tie rod. And the inner tie rod, I added anti-seize, and of course we just put that grease in here. So we're just gonna screw this guy on. And now we are going to exercise this guy kind of like this. And we're just gonna make sure that everything's lubricated in there. Stuff that lube back in there and just move that thing around. Okay, tighten that puppy up. Now we're gonna stuff this tool over here with our adapter. There are the flats. Stick this guy on here like this. And then we're gonna put this guy like this. And you may have to rotate the knuckle out of the way so that way you can get the tool in there. So rotate the knuckle out of the way, and then this tube will fit right over here. And the idea is to get this guy right in here. We got lucky. Okay, I got the collar on properly. Awesome. Now we're gonna torque this guy to 61 pounds. And now we'll go back and release the collar. Take the adapter piece off, and voila! Let's clean that up real quick. All right, guys, it's boot time. 45535-52010. This is a brand new boot. But if you wanted to reuse your OE boot, these things last a really long time. It depends on what your environment is. But if you look at this thing, it's still in good condition. So if you want to reuse yours, go for it, but make sure there's no rips or tears in it. And then as far as the clamps are concerned, I don't buy the OE clamp. I opted for this clamp, and it's made by the same company that makes the OE one, and I get them on McMaster. And here's the part number right here. You can buy them either in packs of 10 or singly. And I know it reads 2.25 to 2.375 for the ID. This is a little smaller than 2.25, but that's okay. This thing will still clamp it. And then for my band clamp tool, I use a band clamp tool from KD Tools. The part number is KD3955. Here's the section on the steering rack where the boot clamps to. So make sure that you actually get the boot on there properly, and then put your band clamp on and then slide your boot on. Obviously, if you're using one of the removable ones, you really don't have to do that. You can release this one too, but I always put it on first. So slide her on. May require a little bit of comfort grip to push her on through the threads. And then through here, I'm just gonna give her a good shove. And then what I like to do is I like to rotate it around, make sure she's completely put on there. And then I position this like this. And then before we get finished, I also like to put this guy on the end so I don't forget it. And then I also like to put the nut on as well. We're gonna use our band clamp right here from KD Tools. Apply the comfort grip. And that's it. She's on there. Whoops. She's on there quite tight. So this side of the boot, there is actual position for it. So if you push this thing along the inner tie rod, you'll see that there's a indent, like right around here. You just push it in, and then it finds it. You see the indent right there? That indent right there is for this guy. You put that like that, put this thing like this, and that's it. For the outer tie rod, I start one thread over here and I start one thread over here. And then I grab this side over here and then I shrink this thing down to the length that I want it to go to. And of course I used anti-seize on this side, anti-seize over here as well. So let's just get this thing a little closer. And then we're gonna put this guy right in there. And then we'll just put this nylock on here for temporarily. Now, let's talk about links. Links on all these guys are just like the rear. If you look at the rear, we set it up like Project Silver. I also set this guy up like Project Silver as well. So this is a little bit of a game. The main thing is, one, this rod back here, the rear lower control arm, that's the one that sets your wheel in the center. So I would start with that one, put your wheel in the center, and then you could pull it back and forth. And I'm talking about your camber with the front lower control arm, the one that's in the front, not the rear one back here. This guy obviously is your tie rod, so that'll control your toe. So this really is a game of what you're going to do with your alignment guy and how you want your track setup to be. So I can't tell you how to set these things. You're going to have to experiment with them. And then also don't tie this sway bar down until you get the car on the ground. And then you can put this guy on and then you can play with the adjustments of it. All right, guys, let's talk about final torques. Right here on the outer tie rod, this is a 10mm hex. This is a 19mm, 36 foot-pounds. And then for these two jam nuts on the outer tie rod, you got to make sure that these things are German spec, and that is good and tight. On the lower control arm, you've got a 17mm over here at 64 foot-pounds. And then this guy right here is a 19mm at 72 foot-pounds. And then this guy is supposed to be snug it down in a quarter turn. I just hit it with my impact gun. And then obviously these guys right here, these guys are German spec, good and tight. And then over here, you've got the end links. So this is a 14mm and I use 32 foot-pounds on that guy. Same for this one, which will attach once we get her on the ground. And then this guy, per T3, you want to get it snug and rotate it 90 degrees, and then she's good. And then the last part right here, this guy is a 19mm and it is 54 foot-pounds. So to summarize, check this thing out. This full setup for the front from T3 is phenomenal. I gotta say, they did a really nice job on the design. This inner tie rod is a little thicker, so this is a failure point on track MRSs. And then I used a little bit longer of an outer tie rod. They provided me one. This one's 7 inches. The other one's a little bit shorter. And then they did a nice job over here with the attachment point for the outer tie rod. These ball joints that they put on here, or heim joints, whatever you want to call them, these are extended, so there's a lot of thread on them. The adjustability of the front lower control arm is awesome. You have lots of positions right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for your sway bar. And then underneath here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different positions for your lower control arm here as well. And again, these heim joints have lots of room for adjustment. So that's really the key with these particular arms, is that you have the ability to adjust however you need to adjust. Did you think I forgot the sway bar? Check it out. Nice attachment right there. And then the bar goes all the way across. Very nicely coated. Looks like a powder coat. And there's that other bracket right there. A huge thank you to T3 for supporting me with their products. I'm sure that these T3 arms are going to make a huge difference for handling and especially for turn-in. So if you want to get a set of these T3 arms, check out T3's website at www.technotoytuning.com. Also, if you want to watch me on track with this guy, you're going to have to subscribe and hit that notification button. This is AJ with Relentless Racing. Stay relentless, and I'll see you on the track.